Happy Thursday, everybody. My mic was muted. Happy Thursday. Hey, before I bring on our guest today, I want to just go ahead and address a couple of things that I know a lot of you all are aware of. So over the past 6 months, man, I've not that I need to tell you all this because a lot of you all found my channel because of the entire Charlie Kirk incident, which is the way I refer to it, right? The Charlie Kirk incident. But I want to clarify the post that I put out earlier today that announced that today will be the last day that I am posting about the Charlie Kirk incident outside of the really big video that I have been working on and I plan to have out in the next couple of weeks or so. Hopefully in the next week, I can have this video out. It's probably going to be the biggest, not as far as I can't predict what the views or anything are going to do, but it's going to be the biggest video as far as, or one of the biggest videos I've ever done on this topic as far as the backstory and sort of connecting the Charlie Kirk story to other incidents or whatever. I don't want to say too much, but I want to make sure you all understand something because I know a lot of you all are sort of upset, confused that I said today is sort of the last day. Unless there's major news, then I'll cover the major news. But I just want you all to understand that it is overwhelming. It is overwhelming. And it takes a lot of time doing a lot of research for these topics. And I know we post or we're going live every other day, if not every day. And maybe that may come off to some people as easy. It's not. It's not easy. And there's a lot of research. I have to get up 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning and start researching and preparing and editing. It's a lot to go into it. And because of that, so that I can get to my ultimate point here, and I'm not rambling, because of that, it takes up a lot of time. Therefore, I don't have time for other videos and other topics. All right. So I had one person to tell me in my post, they meant very well. They told me that I shouldn't let the algorithm win and I should still continue to fight the good fight, so to speak. And maybe I'll consider that. But they also said that it's not about the amount of views or the amount of clout that I get off of it. And I just want to make sure that we cleared it up. It's not about clout. It is about views, but I want you to understand what I mean by views. YouTube, since I do it full time now, it's like being a business owner. You have to pay attention to what the market wants. That's just how it goes. What does the market want? All right. And I understand that shadow banning is a real thing. So sometimes I'm not getting an accurate depiction or read on what it is that the market wants, because a lot of people don't even get notified when I go live. Like right now, many people probably have no clue. Or somebody else has went live. The reason why that's important is because over the past 6 months, there's been a group of us that's sort of been super hell-bent on investigating this. So we're almost like competing for you all's attention, so to speak. I know a lot of you all don't think of it that way, but because of it, I have to make adjustments and pivot so much. And that can be stressful, right? It can be a lot, so that's my ultimate point. Again, if there's major news, I'll post about it. But as far as like waking up every day and researching and going through hours upon hours of Charlie Kirk video footage and digging into people's histories and trying to make connections, and nah, I think I've given enough so far to just show that I'm passionate about it, but it's not worth me sort of overwhelming myself so that YouTube can shadow ban my videos. And then like, no, it's just, I don't even want to put myself through that. So today, what I would like to talk about is, if you all remember, just a couple of days ago, I debated one of Gary Melton's from Paramount Tactical. I debated a friend of his girlfriend. I don't know their relationship. So we debated, and one of the biggest things that came from the debate was she kept saying that people are anti-Semitic. People just always want to blame. They don't like the simple answers. Tyler Robinson is the lone shooter, even though I dropped a video early this morning showing that Gary Melton himself admits that he believes that there's not just another person, but he believes that there's multiple people that assisted Tyler Robinson, yet we only see Tyler Robinson on trial. That's a problem. And one of the things that I showed her in the interview or the debate that was absolutely priceless was the tweet from our good old buddy, Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith, who I believe in the past worked for InfoWars with A. Jones. I don't know if he still works there. My understanding, he left at one point. Maybe he's still there. Where he said, I'm not going to name names, but I was told by someone close to Charlie Kirk that Charlie thinks that one foreign country will unalive him if he turns against him. When I showed this to her, as a lot of you all already know, her face went pale white. She was like, what's this? And I was like, this is the tweet I was talking about. How could some people have foreknowledge? This is the very tweet that your coworker being Gary Melton, or your buddy Gary Melton, this is the very thing that he spoke about. How is it that he would know that? She had no answer. She was like, well, where's the proof that who's his source? And I'm like, well, yeah, I would love it if he revealed his source. It is a bit suspicious and weird that he didn't, but that defeats the purpose. Well, as crazy as this tweet is, there was another person that actually responded to this tweet, and I actually saw the tweet months ago. But before I show you all the tweet, I want to bring that person onto the show and introduce himself first before I show you all the incredibly accurate tweet that he put out in response to this one. And we're going to sort of have a dialogue about that. And so with that, let me do it like this. Knock this down. Is it Tommy?
That's right.
Tommy, how's it going, man?
It's going well. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. So if you can just, because this is our first time meeting, I don't know anything about you actually.
Sure.
Can you just give us a little bit of background on who you are, what you do, if you have a connection to Harrison? I see that you interviewed Ryan Mata.
Yeah. So thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yep.
I am an independent comedian, writer, and private headhunter, recruiter, and have been doing that work since 2017, 2018. I did interview Ryan Mata recently. Since 2018, I'd also had an on and again, off again podcast I called the Borum Forum, a spinoff of my last name, where I interviewed people like Juanita Broderick and, like you saw more recently, Ryan Mata. Maybe a year and a half ago, I interviewed Ron Coleman about the rise of anti-Semitism online, just to give you a perspective of the kind of different people as they come up in the news, people I'd reached out to speak with. So I saw Harrison Smith's post and you saw my response. I don't know if you put it up on screen, but maybe you just want to read it out and have people see it there first.
Let me go ahead and show everybody what you said in response. So in response to the tweet that I just showed you all, where about maybe 3 weeks before Charlie was quote unquote allegedly taken out on September the 10th, Harrison Smith puts out this tweet that essentially says that he was told by someone, I guess around Charlie, that Charlie fears that if he speaks out or if he turns on Israel, they'll unalive him. Well, this was the response that Tommy gave. He says they would. If Charlie turned heel on Israel, they would have someone pow him at an open air event, and they have some idiot groiper with a genetically anomalous issue there to be the patsy fall guy. Part of why you never make the deal with the devil in the first place. I want you to notice the date. This was the same day, so this was an immediate response to Harrison's tweet. It's not like it was later. And this got 3.6 million impressions. This is extremely crazy for so many reasons, because Harrison's tweet was already wild. but you took it to a level that's so specific and granular that if I'm being transparent with you, man, you got to explain this. You have to explain this one. Even down to the fact that you said open air event. So
Yeah.
First, back up. So you saw the tweet. Your first thoughts?
My first thought was exactly that first line. Yeah, they would. Right? Because his post, again, was Charlie thinks if he turns against Israel, they will kill him. So my gut instinct 100% was they would. And then it just occurred to me, and I can go into a bunch of details and we can talk for hours off and online if you want to about how it was that I wrote that and instantly, and how it was that I saw that in my mind's eye as being the reality that would come if he turned heel on Israel.
And I need you to respond, man, because
yeah.
I need you to explain what, because there's people in the comments saying,
well, there's a bunch of things. That's what I'm saying to you. That's what I've seen. I've had people say, one, it's not a special thing that you said that. Two, everyone was saying that would happen. And three, I guess I gave them the idea, so I must have been in on it. I've seen it all. So I'm prefacing what we talk about for however long with this. I have a bunch of theories. I have a bunch of different ideas. There's not one thing that made me, think that was going to happen, other than I know a lot about Israel. I've studied, I've watched, I've seen how they treat people in the news and how they treat people who they perceive to be an asset, who then they lose control of, and how that can become much more of a liability to them than someone who is always a foil or always a heel. Someone who's always been anti-Israel isn't as nearly a big a threat as someone who was once pro-Israel, who then turns the other cheek and decides to turn a new page. And very publicly, if you're Charlie Kirk, you're leading an organization where you're every day changing the hearts and minds of people who are listening to you speak. He can't go out for years from 2020 through 2023 and say, we have to support Israel because of these reasons. Have a couple videos go viral of kids saying, Charlie, and again, this was really inarticulate of the guy, but give him credit. He said, Charlie, Israel was behind 9/11. Yep. And Charlie scoffed and goes, were they really? And he goes, yeah, you have to look into it. Well, that was like almost 2 years ago. Charlie had a turning of the page and a change of heart since those clips were going viral. So one of the reasons I thought Israel would absolutely kill Charlie Kirk if he was turning heel, and not do it publicly on the street in a car where he has an explosion or a car accident that kills him on the highway with his friends, which is how they can get it done. No, they would do it publicly. They would have it be a public show, a spectacle. They couldn't afford, this is just my rationale. And some of this is, thinking in hindsight, why would Israel want to kill Charlie Kirk and no one else necessarily, Tucker Carlson or someone else? They're not doing public speaking engagements where people are doing live Q&A. And when you look at Charlie Kirk clips, virtually all of them, but for a few, were him interacting with young people. Those were the kind of clips that Ben Shapiro would kill for, pun intended. And so when you look at Charlie Kirk, if you can imagine this, you had clips of Charlie Kirk defending Israel to kids on campus, and you saw that one go viral of the guy saying Israel was behind 9/11.
Yeah.
Put yourself in Bibi's shoes. Can you imagine going to war with Iran and forcing Americans to go to war with Iran if there are clips of Charlie Kirk going viral on college campuses all through 2025 and into this year, 2026, of him agreeing with the kids saying, you're right, we shouldn't be involved? Because the next step is a kid saying to Charlie, hey, when you're of age, and if you ever run for president, Charlie, would you promise now to never go to war on behalf of another country? And if the moment he says yes, that becomes a viral clip. So Israel, think about like the opportunity cost. If from September 2025 on, they continue to see not just that Charlie's kind of leaning away from them, but that the trajectory of his going away from them is more and more damage over time, then they have to get rid of him now. And so when I see he is feeling that Israel will kill him, that's confirming my suspicions that I had for weeks and maybe months. Because we saw for the spring and through the summer, Charlie Kirk had told people like Megyn Kelly, I'm being smeared as an anti-Semite for simply questioning Israel, something that we have done for years. So if you're someone like me and you question why in 2011, I'm begging with my godmother in Florida, I'm asking her, why is it that we're giving $85 million a week to Israel? And she's saying, you sound like a Jew hater. And I'm clocking this going, I can see the labeling before it even occurs. So now 15 years later, you were still having the same conversations publicly now, where if you question Israel, you're called a Jew hater. Whether or not you do or don't like Jews, you're now labeled that way. It got to the point where Charlie was earning that label for, he thought, earnestly trying to maintain his credibility and integrity publicly by criticizing Israel. See, I think an aside here, privately, he may still have totally supported it, but publicly, he has to maintain credibility. And so he has to go publicly and say, you're right, we should question these things. He goes on Patrick Bet David and says, he's been flying around in helicopters in Israel for years. It takes 45 minutes to get across the country. Why did it take them 6 hours on that day? He wants answers. Laying out a logical question for them was a liability. And for him to do it was more damage than it was worth to allow him to live. So I thought, again, if Charlie feels that way and he's telling people privately, hey, I think if I say anything more, Israel's going to kill me. And that person hears that and goes and tells Harrison, I take that two ways. One, maybe Charlie told that source, you need to go and let some people know in the media as an anonymous source that I am fearing for my life and that Israel is going to kill me. I've said these things. I can't take it back. The clips are going viral. I have people that are donors to TPUSA all over my phone. They're blowing me up. Bill Hackman wants me to get to the Hamptons. It's not going well. If he tells someone like Andrew Colvett, I'm going to put it in a text message and I'm going to tell you privately. And I need you to go and tell a couple people in the news. I need you to go tell Harrison. I need you to go tell Candace. I need you to go tell everybody else and leak it to these people. Maybe that's one reason that Harrison says, I'm not giving up the source, because it gives away the person who may be trying to help from the inside. The same way that Candace for a long time said, I'm not going to give away Andrew Colvett until he gives himself away. Now Andrew Colvett's in a position where he's saving his own skin, saying, no, it was Joe Kent. So you can kind of see where I thought this isn't just Harrison Smith getting a tip and running out to be first. This is like a
signal call.
I've got a message, but I can't verbalize it. I'm going to hand it off to you. You hand it off to them. And then it gets read and no one can blame me as the messenger. Because that's what Charlie Kirk was doing. I think he was tossing pigeons.
My first question to you was, I have so many questions, man. So my first question to you was going to be, who do you think that source, that TPUSA source is, or that the person that was in the orbit of Charlie Kirk? And my first guess, I think the most obvious one to me would have been Andrew Colvett. And the reasoning is because sort of this Andrew Colvett, Candace Owens dynamic is a bit weird to me, because obviously Candace appears to be over here. Andrew Colvett appears to be over here. Yet Candace at the very beginning said that Andrew Colvett was the one that was telling her things. He was the one that told her, lay low. You and Tucker Carlson are next. What does that mean? Where would you get that information from? Tyler Robinson? You don't know Tyler Robinson, right? So what would make you think that them two in specific, like those two specifically, would be next?
To that point, not to interrupt you, but I just would say, I would think that. I have, I think, posted publicly, I've said that. So coming from him, it's different. I give you that. Like, that's odd for him to say, lay low, you're next. That means something totally different than some random on the internet who says, if they can take Charlie, they're going to look at them next. Because I think I have said something like that. Tucker's probably a target. I know Candace is one. I think Tyler Boyer has been outed as a liar by Andrew Colvett, because I think Boyer and Colvett both were in on this grift, this fraud. And I'm talking about the financials within TPUSA.
Right.
And so when Charlie's taken out politically, they now know the guy who was their protector on the fraud is now gone, and their fraud is now the very rope they're being hung out with by the people who are now going to control. So if you can imagine, again, like the movie version of this, the funders, the donors who once just had Charlie by the balls, now they have Tyler by the balls and Andrew by the balls and Blake Neff by the balls. and whatever personal, leniency or generous, looking the other way that Charlie would do for these guys, these new owners don't. So some of the odd behavior, this is just my conjecture. This is just how I, as a, half crazy person, look at this. I see some of their behavior on these streams, like where Blake Neff the other day says, we have that video, but you crazy people just won't give it a rest. So we'll never release the video of Charlie.
The dumbest reason in the world.
So that gives me the sense that, like, they're not confident. They're in a corner. They're backed in and they're being defensive. We didn't put them in a corner. We're just asking for them to be honest. So if they can't be honest, and they are signaling to me like they're not in control 100%. Now that doesn't give them any kind of out. I'm not being sympathetic to that at all. Like, they should come out for it. And if telling the truth made their head explode, I want them to live stream it so we know the truth and prove to the world, because otherwise you're telling me like Israel's got a gun to my back, but I can't even tell you the truth. And that's why. Bingo. And I'm telling people to just prove it.
I believe that they're afraid for their life. I've said that multiple times. I do believe, I know a lot of people's first sort of intuition is to just say that they're complicit. I get it. I totally understand it. I don't think that's the case for all of them. Like Blake Neff in particular, I'm going to tell you my theory with Blake Neff. And everything I'm about to say is alleged. None of this is considered an absolute fact. Yes, I want to state that for the record. This is my perception of Blake Neff. Tommy, I believe that Blake Neff literally has no clue what's going on. I believe that Blake Neff has noticed a lot of the same things that we've noticed. In fact, I believe that he's noticed additional things because he's there. And I think he's heard things and seen things that are like, that's interesting. Oh, and now he has come to accept that the fear of what may have truly happened to Charlie is probably too great. So therefore, I'm going to go in protection mode. I'm going to protect Erika, even though I really knew her. He admitted that himself. I'm going to protect TPUSA, and I'm going to go on these very unconvincing rants, doing these live streams about conspiracy theories and conspiracy theorists and why they just won't accept the narrative because it's just too simple. And my friend passed away, when he is in the dark when it comes to a lot of things as well. And I think he's fearful. Andrew Kovac, I think, knows more. That's my theory.
Okay, well, I agree 100% that Andrew Kovac knows more. Just looking at the two of them, I mean, there's a brains and then there's the guy who's supposed to look like the brain in front of the computer, right? It's the wizard behind the... Anyway, so I think Blake is meant to look like, because he totally does, I think he's meant to look like the guy who is, the not to be crass, but like the dork behind the screen who's going to be, the producer / co-host / the technicality guy who's going to research things on the fly. And then Andrew Kovac is supposed to be the charmer, and Charlie Kirk is like the leader, the brave. And so this is how I think they're supposed to stage it. Like they're not characters and they're not acting, but they are cast in these kinds of archetypes. And
to almost appear as more authentic.
Sorry, again?
To almost appear more authentic, because if you have people who are at the forefront who truly don't know what happened, then maybe it buys you credit. It buys you some sort of authenticity, and people can look and say, well, I mean, they do really seem like they care, but it seems to have had the opposite effect, though. It seems that we can see through them. We can still see through them. Like something's off. Something is inauthentic here. There's incomplete truths. There's half truths that they're sharing. They're giving dumb reasons like, I'm not going to share the video of freaking Charlie Kirk saying that Erika Kirk should be CEO when you can, bro, that won't hurt. That would only help you.
Yeah, who's buying that?
Who's buying that? Like, and the last thing I want to say just real fast is, and to make it even more weird, is Erika Kirk at MFest shared the audio of Charlie Kirk speaking at the very beginning, where he states that if something were to happen to me, first of all, I agree with Candace. The audio sounds recorded. I said early on that I felt like it was AI because they chose not to show any sort of depiction of Charlie actually saying that. My prediction is that, not prediction, but my I'm predicting, not predicting. I believe that audio, we're listening to maybe 2 or 3 different audios. Part of the audio is actually Charlie talking. I think part of it is AI. And I believe what they did was they edited it together, perfected it as close as they could, and then they threw an instrumental over it so that that it would be much more difficult to tell the difference in the audio.
Yeah, pipe it in, layer it in with music, and make sure that it's, when you compress it and you splice it all together, it sounds like it was recorded on a mic somewhere. Sure.
Bingo.
Honestly, that audio doesn't do a lot for me. I think people are being distracted with like, well, who's taking over? And she stood to make more. Like, I'm thinking more about the fact that they rigged a way to set up a murder and have it appear as though someone else did the thing. And I watched a couple of your streams, actually, the recent ones. I watched the interview that you did, or the debate, if you want to call it that, with the gal. I didn't realize that she was the same lady from the clip where Paramount Tactical is referring to some, and they're looking at the document and it's dated this year. And she is like, that's weird. I don't know what that is. So I saw that debate that you did with her. There are a few things that she just does not get, doesn't understand. She thinks the charging document statements are facts and that they are evidence themselves. They're not. It's like the sheriff giving a summary of how he would characterize the case. That's what that is. So I watched that. I watched your other video on this, the other one that you did, I think the day before, or maybe the day after. So I'm fascinated by how they were able to set Tyler James Robinson to appear to be the shooter. And I wonder if you have some thoughts on that. I wonder if you want to talk about that at all, because I have a theory on how it was that he came to be on the campus and how it was that they came to have his gun.
Whoa, you already losing me. You believe that he was on the campus?
Well, I'm going to explain. So I started out by telling you, like, I have a bunch of different theories, and so I'm not married to any one of them. Okay. But when I'm thinking these things through, I want to run out every ground ball. I want to think about every possible option and go, okay, I'm putting a bias aside. I'm putting my own perspective and my own belief about what I think is true aside. Could this be? How could it be based on the facts that we are given? And what would need to be true for this to also be? And then does it logically make sense? Because I find that a lot of the truth is exactly within those thought patterns. And when I think Israel would kill Charlie Kirk, that's how it comes to be that, well, of course, Charlie does speaking engagements. They're going to do it at an open air event. They're going to want as many people to see it as possible, because how dare he go publicly on all these different shows after they've propped him up privately for a decade. Now he's going to go out and publicly criticize them. How dare he? So that was their number one. They're like, they're not going to do it, privately. They're not going to have him be poisoned or, shot in an alley. It's going to be a public thing.
But why though? Why do you think they did it public?
Well, for that reason.
Because they propped him up publicly.
I think there's a bunch of different layers to it. So so it's like a bundle of reasons. And one of them that's in that bundle is Charlie's a very public figure. He does these public speaking engagements. So if he's going to make viral clips criticizing Israel, we're going to have the last viral clip of him ever be, that's a punishment. That's a vindictive, satanic thought of, we're going to use his key talent against him. If the one thing he would maybe wield against them is viral clips talking to kids, we're going to make the most viral clip of him talking to a kid ever. And that's what they did. So that was the thought process, is like, run it backwards and reverse engineer. What's the worst thing they would do to their worst enemy? And that's what they do. And then how do they get out of it? How do they make sure that you would always see it as someone else having done it? And so how do they create a war within America, or divide the right amongst themselves? We just had this coalition, elect Donald Trump on the right? The libertarians and the moderates and the far right came together with Republicans, and then the weird people in between. How do you divide that? Well, you pit Nick Fuentes types against the Charlie Kirk types. And so there you go. And so I did not believe for a moment that an actual Groyper would be the one to try to kill Charlie Kirk, because they love goofing on him. They like mocking him at his events. They wouldn't want him dead. They're like the Joker to his Batman. Mm-hmm. So they're laughing like, I wouldn't want to kill you. Like, that's how they feel about it.
They need each other. Nice Heath Ledger Joker there.
I wouldn't want to kill you. Exactly. Yeah. That's how they, I think of it. But somebody else wants them both at each other's necks. And that, I think, would be the Israel figure. So you pick a guy, and here's where my theory kind of goes off the books, so to speak. Like, there's not evidence insofar as no one in the family made this statement that proves this to be true. I'm looking at data points and saying, I see a picture here. And so here's what the picture I want to explain. They told you that he was in a Discord server with a bunch of sympathizers of trans, furries, other, right? Are you in any Discord servers?
I mean, I just started one, but not really.
Okay. I'm in one that connects to the PlayStation so that I can do game chat with the guys who constantly get banned for spamming some words that we get banned for saying. Okay. Right. So 7 dudes, and I know 3 of them. I've talked to 2 of them, and I lived with one of them a couple of years ago. That's how I got in it. So I know some of the people that are in it. Okay. The other names in that 7 people, 2 of them could be feds. I could tell you right now, I have no idea. They could just be feds. Wouldn't know. So that's one piece of data that I just have in the background. It's like, you never know who you're talking to online, period. Number 2, how many people do you think are in his Discord server? Because we don't know.
All right.
But if it's sympathizing with trans furries at a college campus, can we bet it's maybe 50, 100, more, fewer? Maybe it's 24. Does he know all of them? No. Has he met all of them? No. You start to put, in my mind, some doubt as to there may be some bad actors in that group who are also running burners on X, posting, Charlie Kirk's going to have a bad day tomorrow, just to make sure there's enough chaff in the air for people not to know where to look, but to know that something's going on. You're clouding, you're kicking up dust. So he's in a Discord server. And what do you think the conversations for the weeks prior to Charlie Kirk's appearance at UVU were? Because again, if you're
priming him,
if you're Israel, you've got a plan, you've got a date, you've got a time, you've got a location, you've got a team to carry it out. Now you need a fall guy. That's the last piece of this that you need, is to make someone believe that they are going to be a part of a plan to kill Charlie Kirk. So you go online and you get in the Discord and you find out, we have an agent who retired and his neighbor is a trans twink furry and what. So you get human intelligence as signals intelligence, and you ask a couple of military Fort Huachuca guys or whatever, some Mormons at UVU who maybe have a predilection to some of these things anyways. Maybe Charlie Kirk giving that money to the trans person on OnlyFans was real. Maybe Blake Neff and his writing about trans fetishes 15 or 10 years ago is how he really feels. And right now playing a conservative producer podcaster is the act, like we said. Maybe some of these guys, we don't know, but maybe some of them had some perversions, and maybe Charlie was closeted gay and Erika is a beard. We don't know. But these are questions, like I say, I run out every ground ball. Think it through. Does it logically make sense? And ask later. If they're Israel and they're going to kill Charlie Kirk, they need a patsy or fall guy. And you need to, if you're running my theory, make it appear as though it's someone that likes Nick Fuentes, or someone that hates Trump but isn't on the left, and someone who is anti-Israel, because again, you're trying to make sure no one looks your way. If you're Bibi and you're going to sign off on a Mossad deal to kill Charlie, you don't want anyone looking your way. So you look to the absolute anti-Israel opponent. That's the Groypers. And you go, okay, which of the Groypers like some really weird, perverted fetish stuff? Because we're going to find one that we can blackmail, like a Black Mirror episode where you find some dirt on a kid on a website. He was watching a pedo something that he shouldn't have or whatever. And now you tell him to go rob the bank. And then you tell him to give the money to this guy. That guy is another person you're blackmailing. And you've seen this episode. If you haven't, people that are watching ought to be familiar. You can compartmentalize operators to be part of a grander conspiracy that they themselves are none the wiser to while they're in the act. So I put myself in Tyler Robinson's shoes for the gross moment that I have to. And you say, okay, I'm on my little Discord and I'm on my new college campus. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm being heavily influenced by new drugs I've never experienced by being away from my mom and dad. And I may be drinking too and not sure. And I'm living with this guy, and this guy is being, I would say, they're codependent. And I think if we don't know anything about Lance Twiggs, right? We know nothing about him.
Right.
That's very suspicious to me. I have a lot of ideas about what that relationship should have been in the first place. I don't know if he was an op sent or if he was just one of these people that, like I said, they look into the database of who they know from Intel and they go, We got a guy at UVU who's got a son there, and they tap him on the shoulder and they say, who does Lance know? And say, oh, Lance is already in a Discord, and he's living with a guy, and that guy has a gun, and they go, bingo. And so all those things we don't know, I could guess at, and people are going to get hung up on details. My theory goes like this. Tyler Robinson's in the Discord. He's on the campus. He's in some kind of an association in which there are feds or informants or both, or someone who is running a deep cover. In other words, someone who's a clandestine operator posing as someone who is also a college age student, who is also into fetish style furry things.
Right.
Robinson just has to get the cue off from one of these people in a ranted, heated little exchange where three of them square up with him on a little digital card table conversation. Seat 1 says, Charlie's coming to UVU. Can you believe it? Seat 2 says, no, I wish someone would just bang him if he was nearby. Maybe another person says, I would do it, but I can't because I don't have a rifle and I can't buy one in time. Another one again says, does someone here have one? LOL. It'd be so funny if we could get away with it. And now you've put the idea in his head that he's going to go, well, my grandpa has a rifle. And they go, okay, now here's the thing, Didi. I believe they already knew he had it. I believe they go, paperwork, AI data. Let's pull up the, the game Guess Who, where it's like you and I have a little. So they go, AI, tell us the best Patsy choice. And they go, beep, boop, FBI, here are 3 people that you could frame up for this. This one's the most believable. Here he is. It's this dysgenic looking dude who dressed up as a meme, who has been kind of friends with no one since the middle of high school, who now got this super genius grant to go to college, and he's immediately fallen in love with a gay guy. He's easily manipulatable, and maybe they have a raw score where they go, his swayability score is like a 94. So we just need a couple different people to act as though they're cooler than him and might want to be his friend. And he would do whatever they ask. So what if one of them just says, hey, I won't do anything crazy, wink, wink, meme face, totally not going to do it, whatever, insinuates that they will, but gives him plausible deniability and says, who has a rifle that I can practice with for the next week? Didi, do you remember the neighbors talking to the news reporters when they showed up at Lance Twiggs' house? The neighbors said, well, the one thing I noticed that's been really odd was that the week prior to the day, they had strange cars pull up with plates that they didn't recognize from out of state, people that they'd never seen before come out, go into the garage, stay for a matter of minutes, then collect with a bag and leave.
I forgot about that. You're right.
So again, if I'm the Discord guy, I go, hey, you don't have to pull the trigger. But if I got a gun this close to the time and I used it, they'd know it was me. Again, I'm just like Captain Fed Boy. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put my Fed hat on, talk to the people in the Discord. If he then says, well, I've got a rifle, but I can't be associated with it, they go, here's our plan. And again, Didi, this is all just Tommy thinking out loud. This is just where I go, like, this could all be wrong, but I think the gist of it is accurate. Whether or not I'm getting the details right, I think the idea is sound. They come to the house. They, again, posing as guys near campus who are friends with the furries. They're actually feds or informants or wearing a wire, what have you. Go into the garage, pick up the guns, see the cartridges, go, thanks. Meet us at this time, at this part of the campus. Bring your empty rifle bag that we see you jumping off the roof with in the video. Remember, we see him jumping with that thing that flops.
Yeah.
If you ever run around with a rifle bag with no rifle in it, that's what it looks like.
Right.
So he's there because weeks or days earlier, people had come to his house to pick up his rifle. He believed, I'm helping set up Charlie Kirk for murder. Someone else is going to use the gun. They're never going to know it was me because I didn't pull the trigger. I just helped them do it. Again, evil, but that's all he thought he was doing. So he thought he was being real slick. I don't believe that person in the Discord collected the messages from Lance Twiggs' end that were authentically sent from Tyler Robinson. I think the same people in the Discord who collected the messages from Lance Twiggs' end sent them from Robinson's end. Because while Robinson is at the campus, his PC is at his home. So Lance Twiggs is there nesting, as we have been told he does. He doesn't leave. Is it possible that Lance Twiggs pulls up his phone and says, where are you? And then gets on the PC and pretends he's Robinson and says, I just did it. It was me. And frames a conversation.
Wait, could he not have done it? Could not Tyler Robinson not have done it from his phone?
He totally could have. But my point is, if it shows that it's a Discord message being sent, and I believe that the Discord chat could have been, if not entirely faked to begin with, inauthentic and staged to incriminate one and give the other the alibi.
Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, if I got dirt on you, I'm going to write a letter from you to me telling me about all the dirt that I have on you now. And now, if I give it to the cops, it makes it look like you confessed to me, even though I wrote it.
Right.
So that's what I think is happening. Now, it could have been an informant in the Discord chat who tells Twigs, don't worry about the forensics on this. We're going to stage this so that you don't have any culpability. We're going to make sure that you are never fingered as the guy who helped set him up. We're never going to let them know that you were the one that let us into the garage, that you, Lance Twigs, gave us his gun, not him, or whatever. But you have Robinson there on campus, I think, checking his phone, looking for his partners in crime to tell him where they will be at the time he's meant to meet them to recollect his gun. And I think this is just my guess. Again, I could be wrong, but it makes sense to me that he thought he was a part of the plan. He gives away the weapon for someone else to use so that he's not tied to the shooting itself. The gun is then, he thinks, going to be used to kill Charlie, and then he's supposed to recollect it. That's where he fails, jumps off the roof because it happens before he's in place. Part of the plan, I think, from the Fed's perspective is tell him to be on the X at the time, but we're going to blow this thing 3 seconds or 2 seconds beforehand so that he's left in a lurch, running around. That gives us an authentic looking picture for the cameras to immediately capture and give to the news. Because it wasn't for minutes that the cameras were scrubbed. They had the footage pulled. They had his photo. They had even analyzed and enhanced and put on the news. And so I'm thinking they must have known exactly where to look in that stairwell to find exactly him and post a picture. Again, I'm running out the idea that if he's on campus and he doesn't have his gun, like he doesn't in that photo, then I have to assume he's there because someone else has it and it is nearby. And he was told, you're going to grab it from us and then take it so that if we get caught, we don't have a gun on us. And if you get caught, you don't have gun residue on you. You have a weapon, but no murder. We're the murderer without a weapon. So like they're trying to Ocean's 11 this thing, he thinks. They're just setting him up to make sure he cannot get out of the snare. He's on the roof with his rifle bag. It looks like he's got something with him. It's good enough for a grainy picture to be released to incriminate him without ever having a picture of him holding it up like this. If they got him on the roof, they've got him doing this, but they don't have him doing that because he didn't have the gun. He's looking around like, where's the guy with my gun? And then he bolts, and then the fake messages are released to incriminate him. The real ones, I bet, are to his asset who's in the wind, who's put the gun from the FBI's possession under the bushes where the FBI can go, oh, hey, look, I just tripped over something. Oh, it's the gun we were looking for.
All right.
Because it's the same gun they picked up a week before from his house that he never had that day.
All right. No, I'm with you. But here's my question. When the sound pops off, if your theory is even mostly right, and that is Tyler Robinson, the grainy footage is actually indeed Tyler Robinson on the roof, running off with an empty rifle bag. When he realizes a shot goes off and he's running off the roof because things are not going as he originally thought that they were supposed to go, what was the sound that he heard? What was it that actually hit Charlie? What's your theory?
I think the thing that makes the most sense to me is that they rigged his mic pack.
Why so many people are knocking down that theory? People like Gary and from Paramount Tactical, these people are saying that's absolutely ludicrous.
Do you think he's honest?
I don't.
I've gotten 0 government grants to talk about my opinion on this. How many have you gotten?
Right.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
So I would not be pointing the finger at government clandestine operators covering up the scene the next day so that no one can find explosive shrapnel residue, pieces of the mic, etc. I would never point my finger at that if I'm Gary. But if you're an independent person who has no chains on them and can speak freely like that, yeah, of course. I think the mic pack was rigged. And I think we're meant to think it's stupid to look at that as even an option when not even a year ago, right? I hope it was within a year. Israel just grandstanded about how they were able
bragging about it.
We can blow up pagers that you bought a decade ago. We can have reverse engineer. I mean, I don't know the exact details, and I'm being hyperbolic a bit for, you know, to drive a point. But I mean, it'd be exaggerating to say it was a decade ago that they planned the op against Hezbollah. But however long it was that Israel decided we're going to plant explosives in these pagers and then rig them to blow. And you remember the story?
Yeah.
They gave a pager to Trump because it was such a big deal that they were able to pull off this bleeding edge technology that they can kill people without ever having to pull a trigger, they said. So that's what I think they did. And I think it's really obvious when Israel's the first to jump out and say, praying for Charlie Kirk. You know, Bibi Netanyahu himself is like the first of all world leaders, including our own, to even post about it. He beats more than half of the news stations to even mention it. It's like it's a very mafioso tactic to, like, you know, the mob boss sends flowers to your mom's house before she even knows you're dead.
Right.
So that she knows who did it.
Do you think that George Zinn, you think he was contacted by someone to do what he's known to do at other events? Hey, come do what you do. Come do what we paid you to do before. Be a distraction. Be a creep. Drop your pants. Say you did it. You're not going to be shocked or surprised like everybody else, ducking down for your life. Do like Mikey McCoy rather, and just behave in a way that just does not make sense.
Yeah.
But in your case, you're going to come off as the PDF file, which works perfect, and just say you did it. That buys us time.
Well, here's my question, dude. Do they find a guy like George Zinn because he's a pedo and pull him into the room and go, hey, listen, you know, because your name's not, you know, Mark, you're not going to prison. Your name is Jacob, or, you know, whatever. I'm being a little anti-Semitic as I say that. But if they're looking out for the guy and they go, you're a dual citizen, instead of flying to Israel, why don't you pull a couple jobs for us? We'll protect you. We'll make sure that the feds never arrest you for what's on your computer, but you work for us now. Or let's be really generous. Let's say he's a guy who they know from the area. He's got a past of making claims about terror attacks. So they want to add, like I said earlier, as many different flares of information as possible so no one knows quite where to look. They're just going to kick up a bunch of dust. Call George Zinn. He's a local. We're going to tell him there's now stuff on his computer. Or you go and you stand in the crowd and you act this way and you say these things. Because what they do, what they did to Stephen Paddock's brother, the alleged shooter from the Las Vegas shooting in when Stephen Paddock's brother came out and said, hold the phone, like, our dad was CIA, my brother was running guns, I used to run ops, this is a blowback situation. They instantly arrested him and charged him with like terabytes of CSAM possession on his computer. And then it came out later that it was actually downloaded at a time when he did not live at the address the computer was essentially claimed to have been at. So in other words, the feds planted terabytes of this evidence on his computer that only had a such and such gigabyte hard drive. There were multiple different data points that proved like he just got, you know, nuked with a pedo bomb that the feds then came and kicked his door in and dragged him away. Because who is going to look at a guy as a credible witness to anything if he's just been accused of that?
Right.
That's so gross that we would just assume burn him alive if there's a hint of it. So whether or not George Zinn is one and that's what they leverage, or they say, you're going to go do this, or we're going to let you burn for all these things. I think there's a mix of the two. I think, frankly, I think they more than likely find the people with it and use them and leverage it. Does that make sense? So I think George Zinn is a guy who
was already who he was before the fact, but because of who you are, it makes it more likely that he's going to agree to do it.
Yeah. And again, just so that you know, like I live in Michigan. I grew up in Michigan. I was still following very, very closely at all the conspiracy theorists during COVID and during the lockdowns. And if you're not familiar, here in my state in Michigan, the governor, Whitmer, just before the election in 2020, staged her own fake kidnapping hoax. Are you familiar with this?
What Whitmer? Wittmer.
Whitmer. Whitmer. She looks like this.
Huh?
She's a crazy lady.
I heard something like that. So it has to be your governor.
Yeah. It's Gretchen Whitmer. She in 2020 with the low, and this is why I thought you'd find this interesting, because I was listening to your other videos and you're talking about how in I guess it's the not Provo field office, but it's the FBI field office in Utah. They replaced the director the week before this happened. Yeah. Dude, so get this. I think every single FBI field office director is themselves a miniature capo. Like they're a mafioso. They're not the king boss, but they're like a kingpin of their region. They run the psyops in their region. I've got a whole like thing I could show you in a file I've kept on this since then. The gist of this, in 2020, Whitmer wanted her state troopers, the Michigan State detectives, the local ATF, the local FBI offices run out of Detroit, to infiltrate the domestic militias that were planning protests at the Capitol and that were having different parades to essentially free themselves from lockdowns. So you could pick a Saturday and say everyone's going to meet at the Capitol and stage the protest in March and in April to force the state to reopen during COVID.
Right.
She wanted to infiltrate those groups that were planning that. So the short story of this is she had a group of 14 people who were meeting as part of this new militia that they had created. 12 of the 14, Didi, were feds. Between the ATF, the FBI, and other NSA or other informant groups, right? This is the official reporting. 12 of the 14 were feds or informants. The only 2 dudes who are right now in prison thought they were a part of some grand plan, didn't know that they were going to kidnap the governor as claimed. But these were 2 dudes who were told, hey, on your way to the meeting this week, like essentially like a gun club meeting. By the way, these guys have mental disabilities, so it's not really fair to pick on them. But imagine I do this. Your slower younger brother is coming to the meeting with you, and I text him prior to, hey, take a picture of that bridge, that overpass at 44th Street. When you go under it, take a picture of it. It looks like it was rusting underneath. We should check and see if it's stable. And your slower younger brother goes, all right, Tommy, no problem. Got the picture for you. And you get to the meeting and you show it to me on your phone. I go, send that to me, would you please? I then make it a part of my case as the informant. You don't know I'm a real fed. You took a photo of a bridge and we were planning to blow it up. You took a preemptive photo of a target. That's what they accuse these guys of in Michigan. So here in my state, we know the government is not above lying to the media, telling them this man over here took a photo of the bridge, planned to blow us up, tried to reroute traffic in order to make the governor a sitting duck so that they could kidnap her and kill her. And 12 of the 14 people within that conversation were feds. The 2 who didn't say anything incriminating are the ones in prison. That is what I'm working with in the back of my mind when I think of the Discord server with Tyler Robinson being the one patsy. And we're told how many people were in the group. How many of them were
I don't know, but what you just said reminds me of Owen Schroyer. You know who that is?
Yeah, I've met Owen.
Yeah, because he was, in short, there were people out there that did not go to jail, and then there were people out there for January 6th that did. And so anyways, it was said that there were actually feds or police that was
Owen went to prison. Right? I don't know. I think Owen went to jail. Owen served jail time.
That's what I'm saying. How you said
but Nick Fuentes
2 people actually went to jail. Owen was one of those people. Nick Fuentes was not.
And so that tells you something, doesn't it? It's the dog that doesn't bark. It's like, what's going on?
It's the dog that doesn't bark. Nick Fuentes has been accused of being a fed. I just find it interesting that he was out there. One could argue that he was definitely inciting people. He never did any jail time. Owen Schroyer was definitely one of the people. I'm from Arkansas. There's another person here, though, the guy that was wearing the bullhorn or whatever. Yeah. He ended up doing jail time.
Jacob Chansley, another guy I've met and talked to. See, a lot of these guys, Didi, I've spoken to, and like I try to get a good vibe on them, like a vibe check. Like I will kind of feel them out. And there are some people, man, that you meet and you go, nope, something's wrong. I got chills. I got goosebumps just thinking about this one individual that I just thought of, because I'm like, I know that person's a fed. I can know them coming a mile away. They might even be like not all quite of like the people like you and me. Like there might be something special going on with that person, but evil emanates from them. And I'm in touch with God. I have a good relationship with Christ. So there are some things where I just get an eerie or a bad or sometimes a really good sense. And I trust that gut feeling. When I see something like Tyler Robinson goes to his parents and says, I'm just going to kill myself because there's no way out. That tells me he's guilty of something, right? And at the same time, he
did he actually send that message? I'm at a point where I just don't know what he sent and what he didn't.
No, I think this is where he's with his parents, and I could have some of this out of order. I'm not married to any of the orders of which I think the pieces of information happened, but I think he was he was related to by his dad. His dad texted him and said, "Call me." His dad gets him on the phone and says, "I want to see that gun." And I think he already knew that because before he called
I'm going to grab something.
Yeah. Before he texted his dad back or called his dad back, he apparently texted Twigs and says, "My dad's going to want to see the rifle." Right? So this is all playing off of the assumption that Tyler Robinson was watching the news. His entire reaction, if we're supposed to believe that the messages are real and that they came from him and that they're authentic, which are each and of themselves different points to prove, they could be real, but not authentic, right? He could have been lying in the messages to give his boyfriend an alibi when his boyfriend was with him, right? We don't know. So like maybe he's with his boyfriend and they're texting back and forth to give him an alibi because he knows he's about to get caught and he doesn't want his Twigs boyfriend to go down with him. So they stage fake Discord. Who knows? But my assumption or suspicion is his dad reaches out when he finally is in his parents' home. When he finally gets back home, he says, "I had to ditch the gun." So he doesn't have the gun. He's now driving back home 3 hours. He gets to his parents' house and they now know he's a part of something. He's fearful. The FBI is going to track him to his parents' house, kick in the doors and windows, flashbang them. And, he's going to catch a bullet because, and this is assuming a lot, but one of the ground balls I'm running out here is assuming I'm correct. Then I have to put myself in the mind of Robinson, and he knows he's just been set up for something far worse than he actually agreed to do. The news is showing his photo. They're saying Charlie Kirk was shot and that he did it. And he's going, OF. The people I planned this with weren't the people I thought they were. And here's how I know it, because otherwise they wouldn't be saying all of this. Like, how did I get to be the fingered guy? I'm the bag man. And he tells his mom and dad, they already know who I am with the gun that I gave away last week or don't have on me, right? In any case, it's suspicious he wasn't able to put it back in his little rifle bag as he's running away. He didn't have it. So it was somewhere when the shot was fired and it wasn't in his hands. So how do they find it in the bushes a little while later? Because it was planted. He knows this. He's thinking with his mom and dad going,
but he can't say too much because that was still incriminating. He know he wasn't the person to shoot Charlie, but it would still incriminate him in some regard.
I think he tells his parents everything. I think he's sitting right there going, I'm just going to kill myself. I gave them the gun. I don't even have it, Dad. I can't show it to you. I don't have it. Where is it? What do you mean you don't have it? I can imagine what Dad sounds like when you gave his dad's gun away and now he thinks it's a murder weapon. Oh, boy, you better. I mean, I don't know how Black Dad acts, but White Dad's going to come unglued at that because, like, he cares about the gun more than the car. So it's like, what did you do? And I was being Joker there, but so I think he calls his kid and says, "Where's the gun?" And I think that's where he has this break moment of he tells his parents, "I'm guilty of what I believe he is," which is like, "Mom, I was pissed. That's why I told you that it was a bad venue for him to choose because these people were going to plan to kill him. They didn't have a gun. They asked for one. I was stupid. I told them I did." And at this point, his parents are like, "Okay, we believe you." I'm making a lot of assumptions here, but for my theory to at least have some narration, I'm explaining how I think it went down.
All right.
I think he then tells them, there's no way to fight it. They're going to railroad me. What do I do? The whole news thinks I did it. Everyone thinks I did it. They have my gun. If they weren't who I thought they were, then maybe they were feds. And if they were feds, then they set me up and they're going to come and kill me. And what did we hear the sheriff say? Because the sheriff who just resigned.
Oh, you're talking about when he got the phone call about.
He went to the podium after the arrest, and it wasn't a part of his written statement, right? It was off the cuff. One of the reporters asked, what exactly was the sequence of events that led to him turning himself over? How is it that the sheriff's department came to be in possession of him with, having custody of the suspect when they're not leading the manhunt locally, and it's a retired law enforcement officer who gets the call. It's plainclothes detectives who took him in, and it's not on video. So how did that happen? Because if you're the parents, Dee, pretend you know nothing about the case, okay? A guy is wanted in a manhunt. We now have him by name, and his parents are withholding him from the FBI. What do you call that? They didn't call the FBI immediately and go, "Oh my God, we think our son did it."
They'll try to make them an accomplice.
My point is, what their actions show is that the parents didn't trust the FBI to call the FBI, because they didn't. They called a local retired friend of the family. It's like if your friend was Liam Neeson from Taken and you knew your daughter was taken, you don't call the feds because the feds are maybe working with the traffickers. You call your friend who's going to go, "I have a series of, and so my point is, they don't have to, the parents don't have to come out and tell the news, "Our son confessed to us that he was part of a conspiracy, but they're railroading him. So we didn't trust the feds. We didn't trust the state police." Dude, if my parents thought I killed someone, they wouldn't answer the door. They would call the police and tell them I was outside. "Come get him. Our son, we think, killed someone." If he didn't, it'll come out in the wash, right? Like something happened here at this house where he's visiting with his parents. He confesses to them something, right? The sheriff told the news he confessed to his parents or insinuated guilt, which means he felt sick to his stomach. They have him dead to rights on something. They have his gun. They've got him. He says he's going to kill himself. His parents beg him not to. They say, "We're going to stand by you and fight this. If you really didn't do it and you really are being railroaded, we're going to help you." And now you have the entire family sitting in the defense behind him at every court appearance. The bullet doesn't match the gun. The gun itself was not fired. We're going to find
the bullet is inconclusive. The fragments are inconclusive. We don't know if it matches.
No, we know that it had not matched when they tried it. I will agree with you that in the future, they may develop a new test that proves that fragment came from that gun. But right now, with all testing they do have, they can't make it happen. So it's like if I have a puzzle that's missing one piece and you pull a piece out of your pocket, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't necessarily fit somewhere else in the puzzle. It ain't fitting. Either it's a match or it is a not match. And the semantics of saying, "Well, it didn't match, but it still may be," is like saying the DNA didn't match, but it still could be you, because the science might come out later that it's wrong.
Well, I believe they're saying it's inconclusive because of
read. I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
The actual report written by the ATF says it is a conclusory report. Forensics and ballistics, they have conclusive reports. The bullet did not match. They're saying, no, it's an inconclusive match, because again, the reader hears that in their mind and goes, well, then it could still possibly be. Like it's a question mark instead of an exclamation point. My question for you is, put aside the fragment, because sometimes they match and sometimes they may not appear to match when they still could be. I'm not saying it's exclusive. You're right. It still could be, but it's also not accurate to think like it's still a possibility 50-50. It doesn't suggest that. It suggests it isn't.
Okay.
My thought is this: if it is a bullet and it's fired from a gun and it fragmented when it went in, where are the other fragments?
Yeah, same question I had.
They call it a fragment because they want you to think, well, it's unidentifiable. It's in pieces, because that gives them the out for having to explain what it really is.
Which isn't a bullet.
It's not a bullet at all. It's a projectile. Right. And if I called it a small metal projectile, people would then have it in their mind's eye that like maybe it's not a gun that fired it. Because, the movie Swordfish, where there's a ball bearing bomb. It's like a cool kind of slow motion scene where the bomb blows and you see ball bearings go like slow in all kinds of directions in the middle of this big bank with a bunch of glass walls. Very cool. 20-year-old movie. And I thought of that when I see this mic pack explosion, where I'm like, how many ball bearings could you maybe put in like a little tiny pack, like a little cluster pack, like right next to a battery? How many little balls of explosive little powdering could you put in there and put it against like an insulated pack, so that when you strap it up to somebody, it doesn't blow out, but it only blows in. And so there's a really simple mechanization that you have with a two-staged explosive. The first stage creates a cavitation, and the second one creates the propulsion and ejects a projectile. What I think happened is he got his whole abdomen riddled with microscopic little BBs to just put through everything in him. And one of them got right into his bloodstream, right through, and a soft part of the tissue in the neck and comes out. I think that's what we're seeing when the whole thing moves around. I think you're seeing, if it's not a projectile itself meant to hit him, it's a piece of the explosive that hits him. And he's either coming in his neck right there or out his neck there, because that slow motion video has something hitting his shirt here and charring his shirt, not staining it with blood, but charring it. You also have stippling on his thumb as he's holding the microphone. You have stippling where you can see like explosive residue flashing against his thumb. In Erika Kirk's casket video, he has bruising covered here on his hand where he's like lying in there. I want to make sure for the camera. He's like lying in his casket and she's rubbing his hands. If you look on his hands, there's scarring where they've put makeup over it, because as he was holding that microphone, it got hit with whatever was coming out of that explosive pack. So I think that's what happened. I think they rigged a battery that this specific battery had within the housing. Part of it was power source, part of it was a receiver and an explosive, all enclosed. They come and say, Charlie, we're ready for you. They put the pack on him. They send him out. And then they watch, and the guy standing next to him fumbles in his pocket, pulls the arming device, clicks it. Now it's armed. And that means the other guy, when he pushes the trigger, when he does this, you watch it go and you watch it pop. I think that's what they did. I think that's how you have like a two-stage explosive device where you have two buttons, right? Like the nukes with two keys. So you have the one guy standing next to Charlie, gets his distance, arms it in his pocket, sets it right back in there like it's a pen. The other guy braces his arm. It's right here in his breast pocket, so you'd never see him when he goes. And people think that's a palm gun. I don't think you would ever put that close to yourself, risking missing the shot at that distance with something that's not right behind your eye. So I don't think it's a palm pistol. I think Rick Cutler had a triggered little device in his pocket. I think he ripped the plunger on it, and I think it blew it up.
What role do you think the couple of questions here. What role do you think Hunter Kozak played, being that he just so happened to be the person asking the questions about trans violence? And this last sentence here where you say part of why you never make the deal with the devil in the first place, you've already alluded multiple times in this video that you, in this live, that you that who you believe was funding, is public record, who was funding Charlie Kirk. Do you have any theories on essentially who Charlie Kirk was set out to be from the jump? And if you think Charlie was aware?
Yeah, that's a good question. From the jump, yes. I think he's picked. I think these guys are selected. And we would think, I'll give you a couple of points of an example just to kind of inform why I think that.
Okay.
Look at a guy like Nick Fuentes. People accuse him of having foreign bots. People have also accused him of having some closeted fetishes and some odd behavior personally. If you're the CIA, you could protect a dude like George Zinn. If he's a pedophile, you could protect his sins and make him commit yours for you. If you're Nick Fuentes and you're the CIA, you're like, why don't I pop him up with some American bots? We'll tell the enemy of him that it's a foreign bot operation. He'll get his own credibility and bona fides within the public because they'll see him as someone being attacked by the left. And I think that's how, Didi, they make people. So Charlie Kirk, his father was the architect that built Trump Tower. Charlie himself was the bag man for Don Jr., like literally carrying his bags in his water and like being the gopher and like following Don Jr. around as he watched how the real business is conducted, wink, wink, like in the elite circles, how things are actually done.
Right.
So that they could then say, Charlie really shows a lot of potential. He shows a lot of panache. He's got a lot of chutzpah. He could do a lot of good things for the American conservative movement. I think they just say, how about we build an organization around him? He's a young, smart white guy. Let's do that. I think that's what they did. And the moment that he gets out of line, like I said earlier, he now becomes a liability. Imagine every year you put a money in your 401k and then one day it decides it doesn't like you and it divorces you. Like, and now you don't have the money. That's how they felt about Charlie. Every year they gave money to him. And then one year he just decides he doesn't support them anymore. So like you can't just allow him to walk off. And you can't just allow the organization to die. So you have to take him out and then flood the zone and have everyone who's left there know who the boss is. Does that make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense. I mean, it's the same thing that I've been saying about Charlie probably since before everything happened. I already said that I had this belief about Charlie, and part of the reason I thought this or felt this way about Charlie is because for the life of me, I couldn't quite understand, as bright as Charlie was, as well read as Charlie was, and that's one of the things that I think people really underestimated, how much I believe Charlie Kirk read books. I think he was really good when it came to history. And if he was really, and Dave Smith has admitted this himself, you know, another fellow comedian, Dave Smith admitted multiple times, including in his most recent interview with Tucker Carlson, that he had a conversation with Charlie Kirk like an hour prior to the event in July of 2025 when he debated and annihilated Josh Hammer. He said he was talking to Charlie, and it dawned on him that Charlie, unlike a lot of the people in politics, he said, even if people are good in politics, if you like them, something that's really big in politics is that a lot of people don't read. He said Charlie wasn't one of those people. Charlie did a lot of reading. He said, so it was like kind of shocking to him that, okay, Charlie, you do a lot of reading like I do. So surely you know what it is that I'm talking about with why we say that our country is occupied, who is, you know, buying out our politicians, the history of this country, USS Liberty, the list goes on. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And Charlie, he said, even in that moment, Charlie laughed and was like, to some extent, he said, okay, I hear you, but I'm a Christian and I just have to support Israel. That's not an intellectual response. That's not a substantive response. That's a dismissal. That's a almost like a default response. It's like like he knows if he says any more than that, he's going to expose himself. So he has to just go to his default and say, well, I have to. No, you have to, because you know who's backing you. You will criticize the trans community. You'll criticize the Black community. You'll criticize the Muslim community. The list goes on. The left. Great. I'm glad that you hold every group accountable.
Don't leave us out. I mean, he criticized a lot of white people too. I heard it.
Well, he criticized a lot of white people who are on the left.
I think you criticize them on the right. You check this out. All the Zionists who he was just saying allowed a genocide, those are not left-leaning people.
Allowed a genocide? Charlie Kirk?
Yeah, in Gaza. When Charlie Kirk is saying, I don't support the genocide in Israel, he's not attacking leftists.
Yes,
and for the audience, I don't think Jews are white either. I'm making a little joke there, but I think Charlie Kirk let it swing every which way. And I just want to add one thing, and then I'll let you go. I don't think he believed that when he is giving Dave a wink and going, yeah, I know. I think that is evident when that kid said, Charlie, 9/11 was done by Israel. And Charlie didn't go, wait, what? Guys, quiet. Wait, what? He goes, oh, really? Was it? He knew already after that clip went viral, dismissing it doesn't work. So I don't think he was waking up to it. I think he was going, guys, behind the scenes, like, guys, we have to change the what we allow for to be talked about. We have to change it because it's going too far this way and it doesn't make sense and the public's not on board. And I think it was a business decision.
What was a business decision exactly?
Charlie changing his public stance against Israel, and it's not evident by anything more critical. So, yeah, when he's privately texting people saying the pressure is too much, I'm going to change what I'm saying.
For sure,
he already knew he shouldn't be saying it, but he was being pressured to keep it up. And what he revealed in that text message is, this is a charade, and I'm not going to maintain it anymore. And so that informs me to think he knew the whole time that Israel was pulling the wool.
No, for sure. Right, no, okay. That's the very point that I was making. So the clarification I want to make, everything that I'm saying is a year before, or 6 to 8 months, a year or so, maybe a year and a half.
Okay.
Before Charlie was taken out.
Okay. Yeah. Because
prior to that point, Charlie Kirk criticized the left.
Yep.
The Black community, specifically when it comes to crime, quote unquote, lack of culture, the Muslim community, and he would even be like super radical with it, right? Okay, and I would be like, all right, fine, but there's one group you act like does not exist or act like has no fault. And so the one thing that I struggled with understanding was, how can a person so well read, so well educated, all of a sudden, when it comes to the left, you're abusing and you're weaponizing the isms, the racisms, the sexism, the transphobia, all these terms. You're weaponizing it. Even when it doesn't exist, you're accusing people of being these things. Charlie was doing the same thing when it came to anti-Semitism. And it was running rampant, and it still runs rampant on the right. It baffled my mind. And Nick Fuentes was holding his feet to the fire. And he refused to debate Nick Fuentes. And that right there was the sort of the final confirmation for me to say, even though it was already obvious, it's clear to me that Charlie Kirk is paid off, because his reasoning he gave for why he would not debate Nick Fuentes was similar to Blake Neff's reason for why he won't release the Charlie Kirk video. He said because he don't platform trolls. Charlie, what? How about you platform this troll that has influence and demolish him? The problem is, you know that you can't, because he has the rightful position. Same thing with Blake Neff. You won't release that video because you don't have a video to release. It's the same thing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I don't know if it's interesting that you say that about Charlie Kirk, and I don't need to like reform what you said. I'm digesting and thinking about like how. I'll be honest, man. I'm trying to put myself in your shoes and think like, how would I have viewed Charlie Kirk? Because I know how I viewed him myself.
How did you view Charlie Kirk, Tommy, a month before everything happened? He was a lot of people on the right were not happy with him.
Yeah, look at what I said a month before it happened. Like, that's how I felt. I'm like, he gonna get burnt. Like I was saying to myself, like, when's it gonna happen? How's it gonna go? I can support something that somebody says in a 30-second clip because what they're saying is factual, and then I don't have to be supportive of that person. Mm-hmm. Somebody can take 30 seconds of this clip, of this stream of something that you said or I said, and we could either be factual or wrong. It doesn't mean that they like us. So I think some people have taken things that Charlie Kirk has gone viral for, and to my earlier point, the one thing that he had is like his God-given talent that Israel turned on its face and used against him is viral clips in front of kids talking at college campuses. So they made that his final thing. They turned what he was known for into now what he's infamous for. Mm-hmm. And so I think, frankly, the years leading up to this, I had my bones to pick with him. I made it very public. On my Twitter account and on my streams, I would say like, Charlie is an Israeli sycophant. In 2023, I believe I said like, this dude needs to wake up. Like, he's too smart to be this dumb on these issues. And I remember thinking the same of Trump on some things. And then in the back of my mind going, maybe he's just playing the game.
And I believe he is. I think both of them are. So
if you're Charlie Kirk, let me ask you this. Do you think he was friends with Josh Hammer?
No, I don't. Great question. I'm so happy you asked that question. It's almost like I'm being interviewed. I'm so happy to answer this question.
Is Josh Hammer his friend?
Why is Josh Hammer in his life? Why was he interviewing Ben Shapiro a day before everything happened when it's alleged that him and Ben Shapiro did not get along? Why are these people, Andrew Kovac, a lot of the people that was hired? See, I'm going on a tangent. I know where you're going with this. It's the same question I had. I'm like, who are these people in relation to Charlie? Because Josh Hammer constantly repeated that Charlie would come to him to get talking point. Bro, I've heard Charlie Kirk debate.
Advice on lighting a menorah, maybe.
He don't need to come to you for anything, Josh Hammer. Josh Hammer, you were placed there. Charlie had no say-so because the people who placed you there are over Charlie. They call the shots. It's your role. You're probably one of his handlers to keep him in line, and that's what you're there for. I think that also applied to Andrew Kovac as well.
I don't know if he was a handler. See, I think it's like this. It's like if you already have one track being paved organically, like we all see, like, this is Charlie Kirk's organization. Forget how many people helped him set it up and AstroTurf it and pay for it and do media hits. It's his organization. Right. But now it's like for the months before Charlie Kirk goes, if they know the plan, they're like, hey, Charlie, we're sending over a new spokesman, propagandist, talking head. His name is Josh Hammer. We ghost wrote a book for him. You're going to promote him on your show once a week. And great. And Charlie just thinks like, oh, some of the donors have a new face they're trying to get some exposure for. Little do, we see in hindsight now, oh, they're just kind of like training a replacement. They're trying to like make sure he gets exposure. Tell all of Charlie Kirk's friends the name Josh Hammer. So when Charlie Kirk is no longer around, they already know who Josh Hammer is. And they think like, oh, well, that's a comfortable face. He was a friend of Charlie's. Right. Charlie didn't think he was a friend. No one is going to be fooled into thinking he's a friend. All right. But this is my thought here. I was listening to your stream. I made a couple notes because I was like, he's making good ideas. And I wanted to talk about some of these things. So in your last stream about this topic, you had shown the video where Joe Kent is being discussed as the leaker and how Andrew Kovac was being attacked by Josh Hammer. Do you recall showing this clip a couple days ago? Okay. Josh Hammer says it was leaking of Joe Kent to maybe share that screenshot, but it's not leaking for Andrew Kovac to do it.
Bingo.
Right?
Okay. Well, you forced me.
Did Andrew Kovac send that to 5 people?
Position to defend Josh Hammer, but in defense of him, and I can't continue this conversation in bad faith. But in defense of you did not hear it in that clip because it wasn't shown in that clip. But early in that same interview with Josh Hammer, he did express, in fact, he had just got finished expressing. I just clipped it out because it wasn't important for the point of that video.
Okay.
He did say that he was very upset with Andrew Kovac. That's actually how they got on the conversation. The young lady asked her, how do you feel about Andrew Kovac sending that tweet to Joe Kent? He said he thought it was indefensible. He didn't understand it. He almost wanted to call Andrew Kovac anti-Semitic for sending it. He's since spoken with Andrew Kovac, and they've come to a common ground about it. Like, Josh Hammer, who are even you to like, what moral high ground do you have to be ridiculing or reprimanding someone for sending something to the government?
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe he's more of a handler than I was giving him credit to be. Or
I'm
like
telling you, man, why would he
Charlie's
be here?
Gone, he's like the new corporate, liaison, so to speak.
Yes, he's like rich daddy's kid that's sent to look over, but he's not as smart, he's not as qualified, yet he's here. He's the off-brand version of Ben Shapiro. He sounds like him, talks like him, his voice is annoying. Everybody wants him to shut up. Everybody feels like he's a foreign agent.
His first,
but you can't force him to be gone like a Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino can say things like, I'm going to be here. I'm going to far outlast all of you bots and black pillars.
Seethers.
He can say this. He can say this, Tommy, because he knows who is funding him, and it's not the people.
Right. I was going to say Josh Hammer's first couple videos that went onto the internet for him, like while they're trying to make his profile known. Yeah. He doesn't sound like how he does now. He's copying and mimicking Ben Shapiro's mannerisms.
Oh, I didn't know
very
that.
Interesting. He's like, very, very copying his, and no one who watches this would do this anyways. He's doing it an impression of Shapiro. No, I was going to make this point a couple minutes ago when Josh Hammer says Joe Kent leaked this screenshot because he received it from Andrew Kovac and then shared it further, right? Josh Hammer's mad at that, but he's not calling it a leak of evidence because then evidence would imply that it's important.
Bingo.
And should be looked at. And his other point was that Joe Kent has no authority to look into this. Now, if my friend was just killed and it was a local domestic homegrown shooter, I would want to know if there were leads to foreign funding.
I wouldn't care who was trying to figure it out. I don't care if it is their job. If they can figure out what happened, I don't care if you're a fireman trying to do a policeman's job. If it leads to you figuring out what truly happened to my friend, figure it out.
Well, I'll
That's
say it
not
this
Josh
way.
Hammer's position, though.
Josh Hammer's position is itself indefensible. Joe Kent is the leading officer overseeing counterterrorism for the United States. So if there's an inkling, if there's any kind of lead of foreign funding or signals intelligence, there was a phone call, or I don't know, 12 Israeli cell phones pinged at the location, and they had bank records exchanged, all those things that you would think Josh Hammer might think would incriminate Robinson. Let's say their story is true. Right? Let's say the official narrative is true and he believes it's true. Then he would be clamoring for any Iranian or Qatari backing, showing money going to Robinson for pulling this off, right? Get another piece of evidence to lock this case down. Why are they so dead set on denying an investigation that leads anywhere else but back to Robinson?
Right.
And this is what I said at the beginning. They had their patsy and they had their target. They know how to take the target out. They need to be able to connect the patsy to it. And so they just reverse engineered it. They just went online and they found their profile of the guy that would be willing to do this. And they talked him into being a part of it. And they led him to, allow a gun. And I think the rest is conjecture, but it's probably not far off from what happened.
I agree. I want to show you something before we wrap this up. I don't know if you saw Theo Vaughn, another comedian, went on to the Joe Rogan show. Have you seen any of that?
I saw a clip and I agree with Theo. I don't know what he said yet, but I agree with him.
Yeah, let's here, let me pull this up here in just a second. So Theo Vaughn, I think this is his maybe third time going on to the Joe Rogan show. He appeared on the Joe Rogan show, and the name of the video, which surprised me coming from Joe Rogan, not that, I mean, it's weird to say it in 2026 because Joe Rogan is quite literally known for conspiracy theories, but it's weird because he sort of like stepped away from that for a little bit, but it's gotten better. Anyways,
dude, I've got a different theory on why too. I'll tell you in a second. Go ahead with the clip.
So the name of this video is skepticism around the Charlie Kirk pow and whatever.
Sure.
And let's take a listen to a little bit of this conversation.
Joe Rogan Experience.
Did you see that they don't know that there's conflicts of interest about, or no, did you see, sorry, I'm starting this sentence off wrong. Did you see that there is some issues about the bullet that killed that guy of Charlie Kirk? I'm sorry. And I didn't mean to say that guy.
Yeah.
But I wasn't.
Let me clarify that, I think, and we'll find out if this is correct. But I see headlines and I see the way people are talking about it, and I don't know if it's accurate.
Yeah.
Because what I think is accurate is what they're saying is that from the fragments of the bullet, they were unable to determine that it came from that Mauser rifle.
I see.
My issue with it, and I'm no expert, but I have shot things. Like, I'm a hunter. I've shot things with rifles. I've shot a lot of rifles.
Mm-hmm.
A 30-06 is a big round. That's a big round. Show me an image.
Would it hurt if it hit you?
Experts debunk Tyler Robinson's ballistic claim. Unable to identify is not the same as ruled out, which is exactly what I'm saying, right? So show me an image of a 30-06 round, 30-06 rifle round. I want you to look at this. Look at the size of that fucker, okay? Look at a 30-06 versus a 308.
That's a fucking paperweight.
A 30-06 it's a big round. You see it in that guy's hand?
Yeah. Oh my God, are you serious?
Mm-hmm. That's 30-06. So that's
a fat little hand though. Too. Look at that thing.
That's like my hand. This is the point. Is that's a big round. That's not a small round. I mean, I don't know. What isn't it compared to? I use a 300 Win Mag.
Look at that on the right there. You just had it. Those cartridges.
5.56. Yeah. Is meant for war. 30-06 is meant for hunting. No, I don't think that's accurate.
Yeah, that doesn't look realistic.
That's what a 30-06 looks like. Okay, in comparison to a quarter. So you look at it. So the quarter's about that high. It's about that big. That's a big round, dude. That's a round for hunting like elk. Like, it's a very common round. Well, see, do me a favor and compare 30-06 to 300 Win Mag. Compared to 300 Win Mag.
I'm just scared, dude.
So 300 Win Mag, I think, is fatter. Let's see the difference. Okay. There it is. 300 Win Mag on the left. Oh, 30-06 is bigger.
Oh, look.
Okay.
Little couple.
Is that real? Which one's which, though? I don't know. Show me that one far left. Far left? Right there. Okay, 300 Win Mag and 30 odds. So 300 Win Mag has a little bit more powder in it. See how it goes higher up? So it has more charge. It's a bigger round. But my point is, that's a big round. So like 300 Win Mag's a big round.
Yeah.
30-06 is slightly smaller, but it's still, that's a lot of powder in that bad boy. That's a lot of firepower. So this is what a lot of people have an issue with, is the wound. That there was no exit wound. It shot him in like the soft tissue of the neck.
If it killed you,
it didn't go out.
Would you feel pain?
I mean, it looked like he was dead almost instantly. It looked like he slumped over. I think he was at the very least unconscious.
But it would have left his body, you're saying?
I think it would have blown a hole out the back. That's the thing. It's like 9mm do that sometimes.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. It seems weird that it doesn't have an exit hole.
Yeah.
Right.
It seems weird that you're shooting him in the neck. And the image from the back, there's a video of him getting shot from the back. It doesn't leave an exit hole. So it doesn't look like it's that round. There's also the fact that this guy supposedly climbed on the roof with it and then assembled it, which doesn't make sense, because if you assemble it, that means you have to take the scope off, put the scope back on. You have to zero the rifle after you do stuff like that.
Yeah, the guy who had killed or allegedly killed Osama bin Laden. Who's that? Mike? Who's the...
I know who you're talking about, the Navy SEAL.
Yep, he was just talking about that. And I only say allegedly because I don't know anything about that. I don't know the specifics, even though I read the freaking book he wrote. But yeah, he was saying that to be able to do all that and get off of that roof, it all seems bizarre.
Not only that, they supposedly disconnected the rifle again, took it apart on the roof, put it in his backpack, jumped off with it, and then reassembled it and left it in the woods.
And allegedly was at a Dairy Queen. Do you see that?
Yes.
Who could shoot someone and go to Dairy Queen?
It seems weird. And then also his family's denying that he confessed.
Yeah.
They were saying that, no, he didn't confess.
And we haven't heard...
His family said 2% of what they're saying about this is correct.
Have you reached out to them, or have they reached out to you?
No, well, I don't think they can. I mean, they're probably terrified about their son's future in life. Like, they're trying to pin this crime on him. Who knows if he did it or didn't do it? I'm not saying he did it. I'm not saying he didn't do it. But I am saying that the story of him climbing up there with a disassembled gun, assembling it, making that shot, disassembling it again, climbing down. If that's the narrative, that sounds like straight horse shit.
Yeah.
And the video of him hopping down does not look like he's a rifle when he's hopping down.
Let's
So
go.
what's happening? How did he get up there? How did no one see it? There's so many things that are fucked up about that story that it doesn't totally make sense. But a big one to me is the actual bullet hole, the actual damage that rifle does. Look, but here's another thing. Guns do weird things sometimes. Like, bullets do weird things, and sometimes they don't maybe it fucking center punched his spinal column and it did blow apart and it didn't go out the back. It's possible.
Have they released any information about the autopsy?
I don't know.
I mean, you would think that...
I don't know what the specifics are, but I know a lot of people are very skeptical, which they are about everything these days, which is also part of the problem.
Well, they have to be skeptical because the news is compromised. The news is owned by, it's not good.
Owned by who?
It's also, there's a lot of disinformation out there. There's a lot of, like, covering up stories. There's a lot of weird shit.
And, yes, and then even other places can put out news that's bad for us. They'll be like, oh, well, we'll put this out there.
Sure.
So, anyways, we let me get this down. So, what did I do? Boom. So, yeah, and I don't buy the whole. First of all, the fact that his family says that 2% of what we're hearing is the truth sort of leans into your theory that, hey, well, without incriminating our son, maybe he played a role. But it's not nearly what you all think. In fact, he didn't even take a shot.
Like, the 2% that's true is that he
was
his parents he
complicit
was
in some
involved.
way.
Exactly right. Yeah, dude, I have I published an article, not like it's like a real article, but on X they have the ability to post like super long posts, and they just call them articles. And I posted one in December. It's on my profile of essentially my theory, in short, of how he was a patsy and how that would make the most sense. I made a short, bare bones version of this, kind of what we talked about, and published it on that profile. So if anyone has any interest, I have articles linked and, you know, screenshots of these reports of people coming to the house beforehand. And I've never been wrongly accused of murder. But like, I can think of a couple different instances where like I've seen someone be accused of something heinous, really, like in my own life, like a person I knew. And if not for people around them being really curious and lucky about finding out information, the whole town would have just assumed that person was a really gross person.
Mhm.
Instead, we find out that girl lied and that person lied with them. And so like, I've just become very skeptical from the time I was in high school and then in college and like at MSU, I went to Michigan State. I watched someone falsely accuse someone of an assault, and I watched a different person I didn't watch the assault, but I was the outcry witness, and the person said, I don't want to go to the police because I don't want them to get in trouble. So I understand how like real victims behave and how someone would think like, oh my God, I can't get out of this because I've got two people who are working together to lie about me, and it just looks like I can't get out.
Yep.
So I think that's how he feels. I think he goes, I was willing to do one thing, and that alone would be enough to hang me. So they're not going to care if I didn't actually kill Charlie because the feds have me talking on Discord saying I would be willing to help. And for the feds who would have a conscience and think we can't really railroad a guy and fake him being a capital murderer and send him to the chair, can we? The case manager says to the agents, you want to go read the file again? You want to read what he said in July about Charlie? You want to read how he said he deserved to die for what he said about trans people? That's the profile of a murderer. If we didn't set him up to do it, he might have done it himself, but we told him we would do it, and he just thought we were going to do it for him. So like in my position, they might go to trial and say, we have months worth of Discord messages showing that he was complicit and wanted to help someone kill Charlie. And then they might intentionally drop the evidence at that point just to not let you see that he wasn't actually the shooter. You just get the impression he was willing to be.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
I could talk about this forever. I appreciate you letting me talk with you this long. And I don't mean to, I see you like getting tired and rubbing your eyes. I don't want to be long winded, but like,
well, no. If you say you watched a couple of my lives, if you go through 4 or 5 of my lives, you'll start to see like this is my eyes are typically low anyways. I'm not sleepy at all. I'm not even tired.
No, I just don't want to be boring or like, you know, talk at you forever. Cause there's so many points where like the just points of this case where, and you've made some really good arguments. Like, you had talked about the with that girl, she was saying, and I don't know her name, Lisa. I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be rude and disrespectful. She wasn't just a woman. Although you did say girl a couple times to her, and I was like, oh,
listen, I had a couple of friends said they watched the videos like, and you were like, girl, and I was like, I didn't even mean to do that. I was in the spur of the moment because she said something. I'm like, girl, do you really mean that? But
yeah. But so listening to her, I just thought I would tell you, like, I approached this conversation with you in good faith and in complete honesty. I got no reason to lie or pull punches or like dress something up or shade the truth. So what I've shared and what I think is just me being transparent. Yeah. I think with her, you can tell she's got an agenda. She's gotten points to never discuss. She's gotten points to pretend she's never heard of and not to discuss. And so when she sees a post like Harrison's, she goes, what is that? I don't even know. But then later she goes, well, some random Harrison Smith guy from InfoWars. So like she does know.
Very good recollection, bro. That's exactly what she did. And my buddy, I talked to one of my closest friends, and he said, my name's Didi, but my full name, my government name is Demetrius. He said, he's one of the rare close friends I have in my life that does not call me by my nickname. It's weird. He's like, Demetrius, I was watching that debate you did with the girl, and I was like, I keep forgetting that my friends in real life watch my show. He said, you know what I noticed about her? She wasn't actually trying to get to the truth. He said it was like she was rejecting it. He said, because if she really meant well, Demetrius, when you made good points, she would be like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. I didn't consider that. Well, maybe you're right. Maybe I need to look into that. Instead, every time a great point was made or new information was provided, she pivoted. She rejected it. She said it didn't matter. You have an agenda.
Yeah, there's some goalposts moving too, and you're good. That's a good point to point out. She'd say like, well, that's not true. You'd say, well, it is true. Here's why. And then she'd go, well, that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean anything. And this is kind of what I was getting at before. Like they'll look at my prediction and they'll say, well, hundreds of people post things like that every day. And, someone's bound to be right on one of them once a day. Like they'll say that. Then they'll also say, everyone thought Israel might kill Charlie. You didn't do anything special. Then they'll also say, I was in on it. I must have known something prior to, or I gave them the idea. I would just finish kind of your first thought, your first question of me. I'll answer it again. Where did I get that thought? If you're not me, if you don't have my brain and you don't have my imagination and creativity to think this thought, you can start with a blank piece of paper, go over to Wikipedia and search, because I'm giving them the generosity of that's being a bad source already. Go to look at Israeli assassinations. Since the inception of the country, and even really in the founding of the country, they have had a list of ongoing international assassinations that they have conducted. They've pulled off some successfully, some that are listed that were attempts. And the Mossad publishes this. They gloat about it. They brag about it. So if you didn't know that, if the folks watching at home are listening to this going, that sounds anti-Semitic, like you make of it what you will when you see one country having a brag sheet of all the people around the world that they have killed off, politically, socially, culturally, otherwise. And then you have to ask, those are the ones that they publicly claim. Who would be the ones that they would privately brag about just between themselves because it's secret that they were behind it?
Wow.
No other country does that. We don't do that. Japan doesn't do that. Nazi Germany didn't have a prior hit list that they were bragging about, but Israel does. And so that would be where like the average person who doesn't have my biases, who doesn't have my interests and my study and my background, they could look at Israel and know that they would kill Charlie for doing what he did. Anyone could have predicted this, is what I'm saying.
Man, with that, Tommy, I appreciate you, man, big time. I truly enjoyed this conversation more than you know. So much, in fact, that I want to invite you back another time. We have to get together and figure out a date, man. But I love to have you back on. I got some other things that I'm working on, so I'm gonna spend the next few days sort of, doing research and working on these next projects. But in the near maybe couple of weeks or so, man, we got to have you back onto the show for sure.
Didi, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure to talk.
Let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, thank you. My plugs. So I do have a stream that I do every so often, a show once a week or so. I used to do a daily show. You can find it on Rumble or on Odyssey, YouTube, BitChute, all the different webs. It's America Floats is the channel. You can also find me on X at Tommy Borum Jokes. Love to see you there. Thanks for following and catching up with me.
Absolutely. And his YouTube channel link is in the description. You can find it down there. Tommy, once again, I appreciate you, man, and I will catch you in the next one.
Thanks, dude. See ya.
All right. That was great. That was great. When I saw Harrison's tweet months ago, like many of you, blew my mind. And if you go to Harrison's tweet right now, Harrison Smith on Twitter, if you go and look up that viral tweet, Tommy's tweet is the most viral tweet that responded to that tweet, because he not only said what Harrison said, but he got even more specific, which is wild to think about. Let's read this again one more time. They would, if Charlie turned heel on Israel, they would have someone pow him at an open air event, and they have some idiot groper, and he already made clarifications about the groper. That doesn't really matter anyways. With a genetically anomalous issue, which one could easily attribute that to being a trans guy, tranny, furry guy, whatever, there to be the Patsy Fall guy. Part of why you never make the deal with the devil in the first place. Crazy. That is wild. I'm like, I got to talk to this guy, because he clearly knows something about history. He's clearly done his homework. And the fact that a person like Lisa Knowles, or whatever her name is, that I debated, what would she say to that? Is it just a coincidence that all these people can make these assertions? Harrison, right on the money. If that's not good enough for you, Tommy comes right back with something even more specific. Sure, they don't know the future, but at the very least, you should, in good faith, ask the question, where are you getting this information to make you believe this? Where are you getting the notion? What is making you believe that this could happen? Yeah. All right. Let's get to some of your super chats. You are the bomb, Diddy. Thank you, Tanya. I appreciate that. And thank you for the $5 super chat. Veronica, thank you for the $2 super chat. Diddy, do what's best for you. I will. I'm going to take care of myself, but I always just want to make clarifications that you all understand. Like, I'm super passionate about this, but like even right now, you know, like business, you have to make, you know, appropriate adjustments. Somebody even told me it's Lent week for Catholics, and a lot of them aren't on their phones as much. I believe it's called Lent week. Forgive me if I got that wrong, but, and so a lot of them, one person was like, well, I haven't even watched Tucker and Dave Smith and a lot of my other favorites in a while. I typically watch Candace and Barron since they're like the two primary sources for this information at this point. And that's 4 hours right there. One of you all was telling me that, and I get it. I totally understand. But because of that very reason, that's why I'm just going to step back and sort of focus on some other things that I'm passionate about as well, because it's kind of overwhelming. Like, I get that it's not about, but it is though. You know, the purpose of me making these videos are to reach people. And if I'm not able to reach as many people, then it almost starts to feel like you're talking to yourself, and you get to asking the question, well, is this worth it? Because I have to reach the people in order for this Charlie Kirk investigation to even move anywhere or for it to mean anything. Right. And the ones that's rocking with me, I love it. I'm with you. I get it. I totally get it. I promise you I do. I love the support. But again, I have to be just wise about it. Right. Because if I'm going to spend 4 or 5 hours on one video that a lot of people won't even get to see for whatever reasons, I could have spent that 4 or 5 hours working on another project that is just important about other things that are taking place in this country, in this world, which, by the way, is a long list of things, Patreon and otherwise, I would love to work on. But I'm also still looking for video editors, like elite video editors, maybe even a producer to help me run my show. You know, those things would be great. Because as you all know, I don't have a team. All right. Thank you for the $10 super chat. I just said yesterday to a friend that I'm getting Charlie Kirk fatigue myself. Constant cliffhanger. Take the time you need. Diddy, we will stick with you for sure. Totally understand and agree. Again, this has never happened before in our lifetime, where we're doing like a investigative series across 15, 20 different content creators. And more proof, I want to make sure I say this too before most of you click off. More proof that this is not about necessarily clout. It's not about clout at all. And I don't even think I need to convince you all of that. But just in case I do, I could simply just clip Candace on. A lot of content creators, this is no dig at you. Much in respect, make your money how you choose. But I could simply just clip Candace Owens' episode and post the following day, Candace Owens said this, as if all of y'all don't know what she said already. And I could just take the clip, pretend that I actually care about it, instead of adding to the conversation. There's content creators that are just clipping Candace to get views. That's not what I want to do. I'm actually wanting to contribute. And there are a lot of people that are contributing. Shout out to them. Thank you, Veronica, for the $2 super chat. What is Tommy talking about? Talking about this now? Just curious. To be fair, I reached out to Tommy. Tommy responded to a couple of my tweets here recently, and I realized And one of the things that he shared with me was his viral tweet. And I remembered that I've always wanted to talk to him about it if he was open to it. And so that's all that was. Like if Harrison Smith is open to having a conversation, I'd love to talk to him too. So yeah, I believe Tommy was always open to talking about it. Grumpy, is it Knuckles? Thank you for the $5 super chat. Audio was clearly edited. I agree. It may have been AI. It may have not been AI, but you can hear the jump cuts with video. You can see the cut. Ultimately irrelevant in hope. Yes, you can hear the edits and you can hear the jump cuts. I believe it was partially AI because there's a part in there where he says that Erika, he would like for Erika to take over. That's the part I think was AI, and it sounded like it was AI. It sounded different. That's where it jump cutted to, right? Why would he be saying that he, like, we've never seen him say that on camera. In fact, everything that we've ever heard Charlie say on camera was the opposite, that women should not pursue corporate leadership. And I 100% agree. History tells you that. I've met those types of women, and usually they're unmarried or they almost behave like men. And this is no disrespect. It's just the nature of it. It's because of what being a CEO requires from you, right? It requires women. It requires the person in that role to be a way in which that is typically not conducive with the woman's nature. So if you're a mother and a wife, it's probably not going to benefit your marriage. If your husband, most men, most of us want a soft, feminine, nurturing, submissive woman, right? That's literally a turn off, a turn on for most of us, right? Natural heterosexual men, myself included. But if you're the CEO, you're going to have to like sort of like turn on this switch, turn on and off this switch when you're at work, when you're not at work. Yeah. So I totally agree with Charlie there. Thank you for the $5 super chat. I said audio is irrelevant, but not singularly. But in the grand scheme, the other whoppers they've told are far more consequential. Public ritual. Totally understand. Totally agree. Feds are well known to go into chat rooms and guide events. Look at the case in Michigan with the governor where they were outed. Same playbook. Oh, that's crazy. That's the same thing that that's very good. Very spot on. Same thing that Tommy was just talking about, which is where he's from. Mike theory is physically implausible. No fulcrum and shrapnel had to hook. It was the camera behind him pow-powing through his neck, remote controlled. I promise you I thought about that. I don't know if that's plausible either, but that's something I considered. I won't lie. The fact that the Farnsworth guy was so quick to get that SD footage. Very strange. What does he think of Erika Honeypot Kirk? Dang, I should have asked him. Dang. Maybe I'll have him to comment under this video and I can pin it in the comment section. If he's not watching right now, I'll reach out to him and ask him so we can get that answer. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Then all the decoys going to play, give time for purpose to move around, not to mention grainy footage and the lookalikes. They know confusion sets the op. Another decoy a lot of people forget about was the guy in the crowd. The guy with the long hair who was like waving his arms. And he was, I forget what he was yelling, but yeah, he's another one of them. Tupac's wife. Okay. Thank you for the $20 super chat. We love you, Didi. Love you as well. Thank you for being the people's champion. Don't give up on this case. Your input is severely appreciated and needed. Christ is King. Wow. Christ is God. Christ is Lord. I appreciate that. Again, I'm not totally giving up. If there's major news that I just can't ignore, I'll talk about it. But giving so much energy into this, again, I just have to listen to the market, and it's just saying I'm running out of times where I can go live, right? Like right now, I believe Barron is live right now. Like trying to go live with somebody who's talking about the same topic, who's getting 20, 30, 40,000 people concurrently. You got to make a business decision. So it's best to go outside of that, especially if you're somebody who wants to watch Barron as well and, you know, learn some of the information that he's sharing. It's not wise to go live at the same time as him. You can think, well, just focus on you and do that. You're going to suffer for that. You got to make a business decision. And so do I go live before? No, Candace is live before. We'll go live before Candace. Well, typically, if you go live an hour or two before somebody like a Candace Owens, one of the biggest podcasters in the world, it'll still stunt the growth of the video. So you're still not able to reach people. Go live in the morning time then. You got people that are going live in the morning. So when do I go live? There's very little time to do it. And because I don't watch other people, I don't know what's already been shared. I know you all still want to hear my perspective or that person's specific perspective on the same said topic. But I'm the type, I want to be introduced to new information, because if not, it just all starts to feel redundant. Okay. I literally just mentioned this. The Fed's outed. Absolutely. She says she's changing her January 6th birthday because we talked about Owen Schroyer, Nick Fuentes for the insurrection. They programmed Tyler to think he was involved. I believe there's something to that too. I believe that guy looks sedated. He just looks very sedated. You know what I'm saying? Oh, okay. I guess Tommy is still watching. He says, okay, he's typing the response for the Erika Kirk question. So once he answers, I'll tell you all what he said. Let's not forget that Mortal Kombat Ultra is still in existence in different and more sophisticated forms. The feds never stop social engineering. I'm not familiar with Mortal Kombat Ultra. What is that about? Veronica, thank you for the $10 super chat. Charlie was cool with taking money from these people. And when they showed him they owned him, it hurt his ego and turned on them. And they showed him who runs the world, in my opinion, of course. If I could pin the comment, let me see. Shoot, I wish they could do that. Veronica, if you post this after the video goes live, or the video is no longer live, I want to pin this comment. See if you can just retype it once the video ends, because you're spot on. I 100% agree. Except the only part I struggle to understand is how Charlie did not know. Just like I struggle to understand that Charlie didn't know a lot of these things about Erika. I don't know about that. Let's see. These are not my words. These are Tommy's words. He says Erika is a beard. A beard. That is B-E-A-R-D. Erika is a modern spy, and she was in an arrangement to act as a beard so people would see Charlie as a legitimate, straight, conservative man, and not a man like Lindsey Graham or like we suspect Blake Neff to be. He said which either he has seen my videos where I've stated these things about Blake Neff, or maybe he hasn't. And we just so happen to coincidentally come to the same conclusion. This is no disrespect to Blake Neff, Andrew Kovic, Mikey McCoy. My opinion, just listening to those gentlemen, those men, those individuals, I get homosexual vibes. They all talk like women. It's weird. I don't know what that's about. People will say, well, Didi, stop being in denial. It's pretty obvious what it's about. Okay, fine. You come to that conclusion. I just get the impression from these guys that they're not the way they portray themselves to be, especially Blake Neff and Mikey McCoy. I also get it from Andrew Kovic too, if I'm being honest. Candace has already spoken about what's the guy name? What's the other guy? The guy that's running the show. I forget his name. What's the other guy's name? Oh, somebody said that Charlie did. Tyler Boyer, thank you. They said that somebody just said that Charlie had gay tendencies. I mean, I don't know if I saw those personally. Tommy says Charlie was supposed to embody the young white conservative man in America, and lead them to support Israel, and he stopped. Charlie's zesty is faster. Should have said that. LOL. Charlie's zesty. I see. Maybe y'all know more and seen more about Charlie than I have. Shout out to him admitting who the real Jard. Right. This name always gets me. Erika Tight Leather Pants. It's funny. I don't see any evidence of Charlie being pow-powed. You and me both still skeptical about that. Still not 100% sure how I feel about it. Why does the agency always recruit dorks? Shaking my head. I think because they're easier. Just by default, I think the people that are easier to manipulate happens to be dorks or perceived dorks. All right. Heck yeah. Nasally voice. First of all, thank you for the $5. Nasally voice. Well, actually, I sound nothing like Ben. What? I am defending the country from the dual citizens. Get the story right, buddy. Okay, I get what you're doing. That's funny. That's funny. I'm like, what? Is this Josh Hammer? Thank you for the $2 super chat, Veronica. No marriage, no kids, psyop, all actors, in my opinion. I wonder if, Tommy, if you're still watching, do you have that opinion as well? No marriage, no kids. I've already, like, maybe what you all could be able to tell me. Was it 2 days, 3 days after September the 10th? I made my first video titled, "Was Charlie Kirk ritualistically sacrificed?" And I started dropping out my Erika Kirk videos. And in those videos, I pointed out something I immediately noticed. You never see their children's faces. And the easy out on that is, well, they're protecting their children. They're Charlie Kirk is a very not provocative, but a very I can never remember this word off immediately. I have to think on it. A very not infamous, but I want to remember on my own. Hold on. What's the word? Very polarizing. That's the word. He's a very polarizing figure. And because of that, they want to protect their kids' identity, blah, blah, blah. I personally do not think that. Okay, he's in the live chat. I'm currently looking at super chat, so it's going to be hard to see your comments in real time, Tommy, but I believe you, bro. All righty. Let's see. A cervical neck bone of a human is not going to fragment a 30-06 rifle round. And I don't know a lot about weaponry and ballistics and even the human anatomy, but I just find it hard to believe that when I look up what a 30-06 bullet looks like, what that round looks like, and I'm just trying to imagine the velocity and the impact of that to a human's neck with all of that soft tissue. How does it not go through like butter? And if it hits a bone, how does it not just, even if it becomes fragmented, I'm struggling to believe. And they try to compare it to MLK. It's not the same. That allegedly hit MLK's jawbone first and then ricocheted through, his body before resting in his shoulder. That's different. Thank you for the $5, Veronica. Charlie chilling on an island, sipping a margarita with Epstein and Ghislaine, roasting us all. I would not be shocked. I would not be shocked at all. $5. Most honest people will dig into the convo. Agendized. People are rigid and can't hide their tails, whether organic or given to them. It's obvious. I agree. I totally agree. Great convo. You won me, Tommy. Okay, you winning fans over, Tommy. Make sure y'all go and give him a subscribe, man. Again, his YouTube is in the description. If you, I may have to delete some things so that it's not so far down. But if you scroll in the description, you will find it. And that way you can tune in. Also follow him on Twitter. I believe that's where he's probably the most active outside of streams. There he is. Appreciate the $5, Tommy. Thanks for letting me vent. Well, we wanted to hear, bro. Like, that tweet has turned into something that's gonna, I believe, follow you for the rest of your life, because I do believe Charlie Kirk is our version of JFK. Whether you believe what truly, regardless of what you truly believe happened with or to Charlie, I do believe that that's the 2026 version of 1963. But wait till y'all see the documentary I'm going to drop in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be pretty dope. Tell Candace to give you a shout out. No, I don't want a shout out from Candace. If she gives me a shout out, then fine, but I don't want a shout out from Candace. You're organic, Diddy. We see and appreciate that. Well, I appreciate that. Big time. Mad World. 1984. I appreciate it. For sure. I try to be. And I'm glad you all can see that. Thank you for the $5. Charlie sold his soul to the devil. Candace said he betrayed her when he lied about meetings and donors. He agreed to distance himself from Candace for money. Yeah, I don't know all the ins and outs of their relationship and what happened behind the scenes. I do remember her saying that. I believe they were in Florida. He was supposed to meet with a donor from Florida. And they were, I don't know if they were in Florida, but the donor was from Florida. But they were at Trump's tower or something. And she asked him a question in the elevator, and the rest is history. Yeah. I believe that before about Charlie. I believe that now. I believe Charlie was as successful as he was, and the organization was as influential as it was, not simply due to Charlie Kirk's brilliance and quote unquote incredible marketing team. No. Brian the auditor and I went through all the the finances and the vendors, and the people that they were paying to do the marketing don't even have the proof or the history that they have the capabilities of doing this with other companies. But yet we're expected to believe that TPUSA was paying hundreds of thousands of dollars, some cases millions, to these marketing agencies when they could just go to the big ones that everybody else used. I think we know better than that. Someone should ask Candace if she saw the kids with her eyes. Yeah, I think what I've gathered from that is that she has, because I've never heard her question it, and that has to have been something that came to her mind already. And that's just giving Candace the benefit of the doubt and just assuming that Candace isn't a part of all of this. Which, again, I made the decision months ago based on watching enough of her episodes. I don't believe that she is. I believe that she's been authentic. I'm not saying I know everything about the woman, and I'm asking you all to trust everything about Candace. No, you should never 100% trust anybody unless they're Jesus Christ. All of us are capable of lying, and all of us have agendas, and yeah. But with this specifically, I do believe she's been authentic. All righty. Miss Jilly, thank you for the $5 super chat. Let me, to sound crazy for a sec, what if the mints Brian Harpo put in his pocket had bullet fragments in them to break open and plant on Charlie Kirk? I don't know if I ever heard anybody quite suggest that theory, but I have heard people suggest certain things though about Brian Harpo's the quote unquote lump in his pocket. Yeah, I don't know. That's That's fair to ask, though. How can you have a case with 3,792 red flags, but we're expected to believe that, no, it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty much what we told you it is. Even though no cases had this many red flags and turned out to be so squeaky clean ever in history before, this case, we want you to believe that there are so many miracles and miraculous situations that's happened in the past. No. Oh, the last thing I want to say is, I thought about this and I meant to say this to Tommy. When Joe Rogan was like, but sometimes bullets and rifles and shots, they do weird things when they enter the body. Yeah, but my response to that would be, with all the other coincidences and red flags and conveniences that are taking place around this trial, that would just be another huge convenient thing to take place the way that it did, even down to when Charlie was taken out, which ironically was the day before 9/11. People forget that it's 9/10 when it happened. So convenient. Right after he complained and lobbied against the Iran war. So convenient. Right after he allegedly was complaining about being in fear for his life. So convenient. Right after he sends out a text saying, they left me no choice but to lead the pro-Israel cause. The most convenient. Okay. Cool. All right, I have 32 super chats. So before we get the magic number 33, I'm going to say please hit the like button. Appreciate you all for tuning in. And I am going to hop off of here, maybe get something to eat, and start the notes for my next video that I'm excited to get out to you all. It's about Epstein. You know, the video that I promised to you all like a week ago. I'm going to try to get it out in the next 2 days. So, yeah, have a great rest of your night. As always, I appreciate you all for watching this long. If you're still here, I'm Demetrius. I go by DD. I'm going to catch you all the next one. Peace. Oh, yeah, Didi got a podcast.
Attitudes and our work ethic become very important in realizing our goals and opening up possibilities. I had lunch a couple of weeks ago with a recent graduate at UCA. And his story is really fascinating. It's one of overcoming homelessness during his time pursuing his degree, first at a community college here in Arkansas, and then finishing his bachelor's degree here at UCA. His narrative ranges from estrangement from family for many years to a hopeful reunion with mother and siblings. His record is one of overcoming odds in a way that I probably could not, and certainly demonstrating levels of tenacity and patience and optimism that I can only marvel at. He wanted to talk with me about his new job and his career path going forward. I really need to be there to learn from him because that's where the real value was.
Everything I say in this video is alleged. Allegedly. No such thing as a life that's better than yours. Y'all can just repeat after me. I really appreciate it. Alright. No such thing. Come on, you do better than that. Talk to me. Talk to me. Alright, let's start it over. No such thing as a life that's better than yours. You're worse than the rich white people or the rich white Jews that own these record labels because they don't even understand these populations. You have a lot closer relationship to these people and you're leading them to hellfire. You are leading them in the wrong direction in the name of getting rich and famous. How dare you? Oh, yeah, Didi got a podcast.